The Synod is fixed. The fix is in. The Synod on the Undermining of the Family, 2018 edition, had its outcome pre-planned from the start. I know this isn't a huge revelation to some, but let's quickly review this mess and have a look at some reports from the past few days. From the National Catholic Register. Same-sex attracted youth to Synod. Don't change church teaching in any way. In an open letter, Avera Maria Santo, a 22-year-old U.S. Catholic, pleads for the Synod Fathers to uphold church teaching on sexuality. Avera Maria Santo is a 22-year-old U.S. Catholic who lives in Alabama and blogs at her website, Inside My Holy of Holies, about being same-sex attracted and remaining faithful to the goodness, truth, and beauty of what the Church teaches about human sexuality. In an open letter circulated in Rome to the bishops participating in the October 3rd to 28th Youth Synod, Santo told them she had been devastated to learn of the ongoing campaign by pro-acronym groups that are trying to utilize the Synod as a vehicle to shift church teaching on same-sex attraction. Consequently, she said, I wish then to lay my heart bare and to share some of my story and my convictions with you, dear bishops of the Holy Catholic Church, and plead with you to keep the Church's teaching on same-sex attraction good, true, and beautiful. This young woman is a hero. Keep her in your prayers. This is how we are supposed to deal with the crosses we are given in life. Here is the full text of her letter. Dear bishops of the Holy Catholic Church, when I was made aware of the efforts being made by pro-acronym groups trying to persuade Catholic bishops to change church teaching on same-sex attraction, specifically at this year's Youth Synod, it devastated me. As someone who has not only grown up in the Church, but has also come to love her and her teachings for myself, I would hate to see her teachings altered in any way, especially in a way that could cause such a grave amount of damage. I wish then to lay my heart bare and to share some of my story and my convictions with you, dear bishops of the Holy Catholic Church, and plead with you to keep the Church's teachings on homosexuality good, true, and beautiful. I am a 22-year-old Catholic woman that experiences same-sex attractions. While I was growing up, I heard very little, if anything at all, on homosexuality, even though I attended Catholic school from pre-K to 12th grade. When I finally came to terms with the fact that I was romantically interested in other women, it terrified me. I didn't know where to turn, who to speak to, or if I could speak about it at all. The fear paralyzed me into silence for quite a while. As time went on, I began to learn more and more about the teachings of the Catholic Church on homosexuality, and for some time I didn't understand them. I wasn't sure what the words objectively and intrinsically disordered meant, and truth be told, I had the feeling that I didn't want to know. It wasn't until I was around the age of 20 that I finally began to understand. I'll admit I didn't like what I heard, but I knew it is what I needed to hear. Again, as an aside, this young woman is a hero. Keep her in your prayers. Recently, I came across a quote from Abbot Jean-Charles Nault, OSB, that spoke a great deal of truth to me. It read, For the philosophers of antiquity and for the whole Christian tradition, freedom is the ability that man has, an ability belonging jointly to his intellect and will, to perform virtuous actions, good actions, excellent actions, when he wants and as he wants. Man's freedom is, therefore, his capacity to accomplish good acts easily, joyously, and lastingly. This freedom is defined by the attraction of the good. Time and time again, we will hear phrases such as, I just want the freedom to love whomever I want, from those within the acronym community. This desire is an inherently good one when it is rightly ordered. Man is only truly free when he can choose to do as he ought, not simply as he wants, for the things we want that we may want aren't always good for us. I used to want to be in a same-sex relationship. The desire was overwhelming at times, to the point where I could see no other way to get through the day. But I know now, from the good and gracious teachings of God through His Church, that such a relationship hinders not only my freedom to love authentically, but also my ability to achieve holiness. Taking it a step further, being in such a relationship could ultimately block me from spending my eternity with my one true love, Jesus. My dear bishops, there is no one on this earth that isn't called to a life of chastity. That includes my brothers and sisters who experience same-sex attractions. This is not because the church is oppressive and wants us to be miserable and passively submissive to her, but because each and every one of us is invited into the divine life of our Creator, a life where no sin can remain. The Catechism states in paragraph 2331 that God is love, and in himself he lives a mystery of personal loving communion, creating the human race in his own image. God inscribed in the humanity of man and woman the vocation, and thus the capacity and responsibility of love and communion. Not only should I be reminded that, as a Christian, I am called to love as Christ loved us, but I also have the capacity to do so. I am capable of authentic love. Telling me that my cross of same-sex attraction is too heavy for me to love as Christ calls me to is not just degrading, it is also a lie. God does not abandon me when man first sinned in the beginning, and he will not abandon me now. He has called me, and each and every one of us, to himself, and I intend to return back to him, no matter how burdensome my cross may be. Like Christ remembered me from the cross, I pray that you would remember me, and my brothers and sisters like me, dear bishops, as you pray about and discuss how to help young people in matters of faith and vocation, especially in regards to the topic of homosexuality. Please remember that, as St. Therese the Little Flower, a dear patron of mine, so greatly put it, my vocation is to love. Yours in Christ, Avera Maria Santo. Like I said, this young woman is a hero. She has a cross to carry, and instead of embracing sin, she chose to carry that cross and to speak the truth of the faith to the bishops who seem unwilling to stand for the truth, or worse, are eagerly trying to change the truth to fit their own depraved lifestyle. Obviously, the Synod isn't going to listen to the voice of a Catholic woman on this issue. As evidence, I present this article from Crisis Magazine, who, as an aside, have published a few of my articles in the past. If you look around there for articles on social justice, you'll find me. To the topic at hand, from Crisis Magazine. The Disorder of Differently Ordered, by Hudson Biblow. Recently, it has come to light that some Catholics are seeking to change the wording in the Catechism of the Catholic Church by replacing the word disordered with the phrase differently ordered. I believe that this intention is, in and of itself, disordered. Please allow me to explain. In every case where I have encountered people who desire this terminological shift, it's evident that relativism has been embraced, consciously or not, in their hearts to some degree. Relativism leads people to believe that truth is ultimately anchored in one's own experience, as opposed to there existing a God-authored truth to which we are called to align ourselves. While our experiences do matter and contribute to the truths of our circumstances, those experiences merely unfold in relationship to this God-authored truth. As a result of relativism being embraced, some people seem to perceive the word disorder as an affront to their mindset. I wonder if this is because it posits that one truth might be above another, and therefore, some truths might be greater than their truth. In the context of sexuality, some people in same-sex relationships have told me that they accept the reality that their same-sex relationships are counter to the God-authored order of creation in terms of the physiological complementarity between males and females. However, they have also told me that they do not believe it, that countering that God-authored order of creation is a sin. This reveals a deficiency in people's understanding of sin. To avoid sin, we must strive to uphold the visible and invisible order of creation that God has authored. Overall, I'm grateful for the transparency in these conversations, but also saddened because they reveal how much their experience and their attachment to it determines whether or not a sin has been committed. Furthermore, striving to uphold the order of creation is less about managing behaviors than about examining the state of our hearts. By doing so, we can become more completely honest with ourselves about the degree to which we allow God to take precedence over our own desires. Thus, the idea that people ought to strive to uphold the order of creation is applicable to all, regardless of the attractions they experience. Many also mistake passions, desires, and appetites to be the voice of conscience. As one woman shared with me how she knew God was calling her to be a female Catholic priest, she said, The desire is so strong it has to be from God. She also shared how after another Catholic suggested to her that it might not be from God but from Satan, she angrily swore at him, using the F word. When she shared this with me, it was evident that she was still upset by what had been suggested. Although I know her to be a loving person with a very charitable heart, her response surprised me, and I wonder if some of the more prominent Catholics who lobby for the change to differently ordered react to criticism in a similar way. As an aside, if you ever hurl a criticism on this towards Pastor Jimmy Martin on Twitter, he will block you. As an aside. In my experience, it seems that they are not too interested in reevaluating what they believe against any standard of truth greater than human experience. It seems that they get irritated when invited to proclaim that chastity, as understood by the Church, is a virtue for all people, regardless of the attractions, inclinations they experience. It seems that they don't ask people to consider how true chastity, which is not the same as abstinence or celibacy, honors and respects the God-authored order of creation, which includes the complementarity between males and females, and the acceptance of one's own God-authored maleness or femaleness, which is not the same as one's culturally influenced perceptions of masculinity and femininity. I will let you read the rest of that on Crisis's website. The link to that article is in the sources page below. A few months ago, I recall seeing proposed changes to the Catechism that would change church teaching to accept the Bay Area lifestyle. I think it may have been Church Militant who exposed that in an online edition of the new change to the Catechism that was already available just a few keystrokes away from the original. I haven't been able to find it. If you can find that, send it to me, because it's evidence that the fix is in. Regardless, Joseph Cambria reported on the lobbying of these modernist groups in late August, but the story got lost in the Vigano fallout. Here's a highlight from his reporting on that subject. The Deep Gay State. Catholic LGBT ministries join forces with Human Rights Campaign to lobby Synod on young people. He published this on the 30th of August, just 1 week after Vigano's testimony. Several Catholic acronym ministries, including New Ways Ministry, the Global Networks of Rainbow Catholics, and Quest, have formed an alliance with the Human Rights Campaign in order to lobby Catholic prelates during the upcoming Synod on the Undermining of the Family, to be held in Rome this October. Jesuit priest James Martin has publicly supported all three of these ministries. On August 22, 2018, during the World Meeting of Families in Dublin, where James Martin was a featured speaker, a number of Catholic acronym activists from different countries held a press conference to announce this initiative and to launch the corresponding website Equal Future 2018. According to a report from New Ways Ministry, at the press conference, 4 young Catholic acronym people told parts of their personal journeys growing up acronym and a Catholic. One of the young people was Jorge Olivares, a same-sex attracted journalist from New York City and a member of the Catholic acronym ministry out at St. Paul, which is funded and overseen by the Paulist Fathers. Given the things that St. Paul wrote about this, it's weird that they would name themselves after him. Anyway, at the press conference, Mr. Olivares stated, "I've come to accept the fact that being same-sex attracted is a choice, but God's, not mine." Okay, according to the Equal Future website, Catholic Church leaders need to consider the role that the Church's teaching on the acronym has had in giving children and young people the feeling that being acronym would be a misfortune or a disappointment. In addition, one of their stated goals includes the campaign calls on the Synod to consider the damage done as a consequence of the Church's teaching on the acronym and to reconsider the teaching itself. The end result of the Synod on the Undermining of the Family was predetermined long before the Synod was to be held. This is at least in part why Archbishop Chaput's calls for canceling this dumpster fire of a Synod have gone ignored. The goal of normalizing the Bay Area lifestyle and institutionalizing the acronym into Catholic life is all too important for the Lavender Mafia, which controls the governing of the Church. They cannot let this issue go. It's far, far too important for them. I keep saying that things are going to get worse. What do you think is going to happen when these changes are made public? when the changes to the catechism shown above are unveiled. The Catechism of the Catholic Church is not an infallible document, though it does contain declared infallible statements. But it is treated as an infallible document. When you disagree with the contents of the Catechism, you're treated like a schismatic. Brace yourself for that, because it's coming and will probably be here before Christmas. All this brings a lot of questions to mind, including what the limits of obedience to church leadership are. Obviously, when they promote heresy, we have a duty to resist. But what are the limits? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. I'd love to get your take on this and how to resist properly without finding ourselves in schism. If you like videos like this video and subscribe, and click that notification below. I can be found on Twitter and Facebook, with links in the description. For Return to Tradition, I'm Anthony Stein. Viva Cristo Rey.